The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk.
Where only you can get screwed as the taxpayer.
That's right. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. And that's CJ. He forgot to introduce himself.
I'm CJ. Hello. Not that I need any introduction.
Unfortunately, they know who we are.
I'm also known as this person. I was referred to yesterday as this person.
This person. Wow. Okay. Well, you know, the Chamber of Horrors did it again. They just never. Look, the last consideration ever is the taxpayer. Because remember, most of them are making pretty good money. And they don't really care. They're not living from paycheck to paycheck. They're not having to figure out if they have to put off doing something they'd really like to do, like buying maybe a car because their car doesn't run for crap, because they have to pay their fees and taxes, and now they're going to try to raise their parking fees, and which is very good for business, by the way. You notice that most places that try to encourage business remove parking so people can go and shop. But there's no consideration at all. They have a total disregard for the taxpayer. Absolutely, they don't give a damn at all. And you know what disturbs me, CJ? I mean, it's just, look, and I understand, because I talked to a city councilor earlier today. Very, very lucid argument about why they should keep the purple bags. Talked about how you're going to lose $2 million, and if you lose that $2 million, you still have to, whatever was funded by that has to be funded, which means it was taken away from another source that could have actually helped us hold the line maybe on taxes or fees, because they had to get the money somewhere. So, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul if Peter doesn't have any money. So when you just unilaterally take this out of the budget, the money has to come. They have to rob somebody else. They have to go to Johnny instead of Peter.
But the problem is that this $2.3 million was not written into the proposed budget. It's not there.
I know.
So the city council cannot increase the budget.
But the trash costs are going to go up.
That's not our fault. That's the mayor's fault. He signed the contract.
That this is the whole problem. This is what you call, this isn't a balanced equation. You can't solve it. You can't solve it because there's parts missing. You can't solve an equation unless it's balanced, because then you can extrapolate the numbers and come up with but this money, you're right, the money isn't in a budget. But whatever that money was paying for the last 5 or 6 years is still there.
Right.
So, and it's even more. It's increased. Our costs have increased. So that argument about we're taking $2 million or $2.3 million out of the budget is a very lucid argument. What disturbs me about the council, and I'm not going to talk about the mathematics right now, is that on one hand, they're so concerned that we pay our bills that they're going to continue to make us spend our money, the people who can afford it the least, while they continue to approve every new job, every pay raise, every stipend, every fee increase that comes into the Chamber of Horrors. And that's what disturbs me. It's like, forget about the mayor. We know he doesn't give a crap. He'll go to Paris. He'll go to Harvard, 16 grand for 3 weeks. That's pretty good amount of money. It's over, that's over five.
That's a salary for somebody in Fall River.
Yeah, that's virtually a salary. And I'm sure he's not commuting. And if he is commuting, he's commuting in a city car with city gas. And he's going to get, what's this? It's not like he got into Harvard. He's going to get a degree from Harvard. He's going to get a certificate. They got certificate programs. They're money-making vehicles. He's going to go up there with a whole bunch of other mayors, and they're going to figure out what hotel they'll stay at the next seminar. That's what they're going to do. He's going to get all these brilliant ideas that don't work in a city like Fall River. Nothing works. Nobody's got any money. Everybody that can leave will leave. We lead the state in crime. We led the state in opioid overdoses last month. Who's going to come here? But let's hire a tourism director. Let's market Fall River. And the council, as I said, is complicit. Government is supposed to be a series of checks and balances. That's why you have the tripartite system on federal level. They're supposed to be checks and balances. They're not supposed to be, everybody's on the same page, rape the taxpayer. That's the thing they all agree on. They may disagree on one little issue or another little issue, and Steve Long can say, I always get along with them. I know that, because you've got a hiding place.
Up as derriere.
That's right. and you're there most of the time. But the fact is,
I wonder what that stench was in the city council.
What they all agree on is that, as you started the show, they should start every council meeting with that clip. Screw you, taxpayer. The conversation I had this morning with a councilor, I mentioned to him long-lost phrases that we used to hear 10 or 15 years ago when people were running for office and in governments. Things like bare bones. We got to have a bare bones government. No extra positions, just what we need to do to provide essential services. Tighten the belt. Do more with less. Because the taxpayer needs money to stimulate the economy. All those things were mantras, and they worked. Because this city was not at the top of the food chain when it came to salaries and things, but people at least...
We still aren't.
We're making... That's right. We're worse off now. But we at least had people who had jobs, went out to restaurants, went and bought clothing. And why? Because they had jobs, and they weren't broken with fees and taxes. So now the only people we have left are the people that comprise the majority of the city council, people who live in the north end of the city, and if you look at their incomes, they're well above the $22,000. That's the average in Fall River. So they don't care. And who's left in the rest of the city that doesn't live in that suburb called the north end? They're the people that are retired, have a mediocre job, a Fall River job, getting $14 or $15 an hour minimum, virtually or almost minimum wage. Have to hold 2 jobs to even try to make ends meet, having trouble paying their bills, paying their mortgage, paying their rent, buying purple bags. That's who's left. And the only reason they're here is because they can't get out. They can't get out. Retirees who worked their whole lives to pay off their homes. Now their homes are fully paid for, and they thought they were going to have a nice retirement. Their house is paid for, no mortgage payments. All they have to do is kind of just pay their taxes. And now you see the taxes and fees getting to the point where people who have no mortgage are on the verge of losing their houses. And then you got a council that's oblivious. It's like they're all comatose in there. It's like when they flip the lights on in the Chamber of Horrors, there's like some I guess they stop when they come in that back door and there's a vacuum cleaner that sucks out their brain when they walk into the chamber.
Some never had a brain.
And they can't, and so they can't think. And the last thing they think about is the taxpayer. There's no money.
But
They can't afford not to increase that. But new jobs, stipends, tax raises, and the total arrogance of them. And that's the thing that really upsets me about the council. You've got the city representatives telling them, speaking the words, that they're giving stipends to circumvent city ordinances. They're giving out pay raises to people. They're changing people's retirement groups to increase the unfunded liability, and then they complain about the unfunded liability. Then they complain about not having any money, and they give people $40,000 pay raises. And the city council says yes. Look, I expect the mayor to stick his head in that trough and pull as much out of that trough as he can. And I think the majority of people in this community have given up on him. They realize that as long as he's, our chief CEM, chief executive millennial, doesn't care. He's going to live large as long as we're picking up the tab. He's going to live large. Nothing you can do about it. Throw your hands up, give it. I think most of the people I talk to have given up. They say nothing we say, nothing we do is going to stop him from taking care of his friends and give. But the council, they're supposed to be the stopgap. They're supposed to be the people. Well, that's right. I know, yeah, right. But that's what they're supposed to be.
But here's the problem.
And more people are pissed at the council now than at the mayor.
Here's the problem, okay? You have all these people complaining, but then how many went to the city council last night to talk about the bags or to talk about the budget? One, me. One voice cannot change the way of the council. What should have happened last night is everyone in the city that didn't want purple bags or wanted purple bags should have been at that city council meeting. You should have been at that city council meeting. You. And you should have said, I want them or I don't want them. Let your voice be heard. But no, you're sitting in front of your computer keyboard being a Facebook warrior. Look, Ma, I'm being a badass on Facebook. Guess what? You're not. I looked at everything that was posted last night. People were watching from home and making their comments. Why didn't you show up at the city council meeting and make those comments? Why didn't you say something then?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you an answer. A lot of people are just frustrated because, as you said, and I've said more than once, the only time you should show up is at a voting booth now. It's pretty apparent they don't care.
But they don't even show up at a voting booth.
We've all gone to citizens' input and had 15 or 20 people or 30 people speak on a subject, and the city councilors are doing this.
I know, they can't be bothered.
You know, they don't care. They don't care. They don't read the letters you write them. They don't listen to what you say when you're speaking. They won't waive the time limit regardless of how important what you're saying is. It's an exercise in futility. And I can understand some people being, I know a lot of people used to don't go anymore because, frankly, it's like running your head into a cinder block wall. You got a cinder block wall behind you. You don't have a set like I do. So it's like you turning around and running headfirst into that wall about 8 or 9 times because it's pointless. And the only way they'll listen is if you start unelecting them.
But that's the problem.
And that's the problem, exactly. They've got to get rid of these people because guess what? That's the only time they'll pay attention.
And they all say the same thing, oh, we got to get rid of them, but not my guy. Let's get rid of them all, but not my guy. Okay? Get rid of everybody, but not Leo. Leo lied to you. Leo lied. Leo said that he was going to work on getting rid of the purple bags. He looked forward, quote unquote, he looked forward to working with the mayor on getting rid of the bags. And what did he do last night? He voted to keep them. He lied to you. This is what you get. Was that chow mein sandwich worth it for you? Was it really worth it? I don't know, because I know what for me it wouldn't have been worth it.
Remember, I sent you the link. Chow mein sandwiches have got Fall River mentioned in Wikipedia.
I know it does.
So all you guys go on Wikipedia, type in chow mein sandwich.
But let's look
Fall
at the,
River gets the we invented the chow mein sandwich.
and then you get people like Pamela Liberté LeBeau, okay? The chowder head. Who says that we got to find the landlords. Renting apartments is a business. They're collecting money. Let them make them pay for it. Guess what? I can't make my tenants pay their electric bill. I can't make my tenants pay the gas bill. I can't make my tenants pay the phone bill. I can't make them pay their cable bill. I can't even make them pay their doctor's bills. So how am I supposed to make them pay for purple bags? I can't, and I'm not going to pay for them. That's why I have a private hauler.
Well, you know, the thing is that, look, it sounds good politically. We're going to go after this, and Pamela Liberté doesn't care. Because guess what? As you just said, great example. If your tenant doesn't pay the electric bill, they don't pull your electric meter. They come to your house, and they'll pull that meter.
That's
they'll
right.
pull his meter. If you don't pay your gas, they're not going to shut off your gas. They're going to shut off his gas. You can't coerce your tenants into buying bags. That's the city's job. Let them find the people. How about the people that for the last 5 or 6 years have been buying bags and using them all the time? Now they said that, you know, if they keep the bags, they're going to enforce them. It's crap. It was a slap in the face from the get-go, because if certain people like you or I didn't use a purple bag, they would have, my trash barrels would have looked like Christmas trees. I'd have so many tickets hanging on them. But I can go halfway up my street, and that individual has never used a purple bag since the inception of the program. Not only that, all the recyclables are put in plastic bags, which is a no-no. So there's a person that's never complied, recycling or trash, since the beginning of the program, and obviously he's not getting fined because he would have lost the house by now, because it's been years. So guess what? Another slap in the face, and people like Pamela Liberté find a land. Oh, now what are you going to do? Then you're going to get arrested because, you know, you're going to have a tenant charging you with attempted coercion to make him buy a bag. You know, because that's not your job. It's not my job, man, as they used to say. Yeah. And guess what? Then you got Brad Kilby going, oh, yeah, let's overtax. He didn't say it that way. I'll give you the code. Free cash is good.
Yeah, free cash is a good thing.
Free cash means overtaxation.
No, free cash means that we're in a good position. No, it doesn't. It means you overtaxed me.
That's right.
And then he turned around and he said, oh, but free cash in my house. I said, that's your house. That's not the city government. You're not supposed to be making money. Yeah. A zero-based budget's a zero-based budget.
Yeah, free cash is good. Free cash means that Terry Sullivan gets to use almost $500,000 out of his free cash slush fund. Everybody gets free cash. Where's that free cash come from? Increased fees, increased property taxes, increased everything. And guess what? They don't care. Like he said, free cash is good. Obviously, you got to have a little bit of free cash, but you don't operate by attempting to put away. That is not your money. You know, people wake up when they talk about we're going to do this with our money and the free cash. It's not free cash. There's no free lunches, and there's no such thing as free cash in the public sector. That's your money. Whether it's fee money or tax money, that's your money. And if they got a whole bunch of it, it means they've taxed you and feed you far too much. And guess what? Put this in perspective. We have free cash still, after the $40,000 pay raises, all the stipends that they talked about to circumvent city ordinances, all the new positions created, all this increase in the budget, while they eliminate jobs that actually have to do something. DPW's at probably one of its all-time lows, if not its all-time low. People who actually do the work and provide the services, you don't have them. You got one guy, I think, that drives the street cleaner now. So, you know, they give their friends jobs and say, well, it's not increasing the budget because I got rid of people who actually got a job. I'm going to give these people a political job, well, and then I'm going to say, well, the budget hasn't increased that much. Well, it has increased that much.
Well, that was just like what they tried to justify. They tried to justify Chris Pereño's job because he's an assistant commissioner for cemeteries, okay? Or an assistant park board commissioner, or whatever one he is. And they said, oh, well, the position above him is empty, so that's why we gave him that position. That's how they justified it. Does he get a stipend with that, too? I really want to know.
Look, it's, you know, the position above him is empty, and he didn't get the position above him because, number one, they wouldn't start him at that because he'd be even more of an hour, and secondly, he's not qualified, even for the position he's got.
Exactly.
Assistant. He's not qualified.
And then you've got a city councilor turning around saying, oh, I know people that work at the cemetery, and they love you. They think you're great. They think you do a wonderful job. Really? How come what we're hearing from people that say, this is ridiculous? If he's doing such a wonderful job, why does the cemetery look like a crap hole for Memorial Day?
Well, look.
Okay, and you know what his excuse was?
He's doing a wonderful job of doing what? He doesn't have a clue. Did he ever work? Has he ever, I don't even know, does he cut his own lawn? What does he do that qualifies him to work in the cemetery department? I want to see his resume. I want to see something. Can he run a backhoe? Can he, you know, can he operate equipment?
No.
Has he ever worked pick and shovel?
No.
I mean, you know, look, this again is propaganda. They will shovel that crap down your throat as long as you keep your mouth open because they just never stop. They'll always find a justification. Look at the state. They're all on TV, the Dog and Pony Show. They're suing a pharmaceutical company.
Oh, yeah, I got
And who's standing there? Charlie Baker. Are we going to sue the healthcare industry for the way they raped and pillaged everybody when they went to HMOs and denied treatment to people? Charlie, are you going to sue yourself? You're standing there with a big grin on your face because you're making a real great political move. Let's sue those nasty, and I agree, sue them all, shut them down. Take the $32.8 million salary away from the head of CVS Care Less. No human being that sits on their butt in an office, and I almost said the bad word because it got me so upset, and makes $32.8 million for a salary.
Well, you know,
that's more than some towns' budgets in the state of Massachusetts.
Interestingly enough, and let's make it very clear to the people who are watching and those who will be watching later. You had 3 city councilors, 3. I was stunned. Joe Camara, Steve Camara, and Derek Viveiros. They were the only 3 councilors who said no. They said no and they were clear about it. We knew that the mayor didn't have the votes. But, Mr. Mayor, I know you're watching. You can unilaterally end the bag program right now. Notify Waste Zero right now. You're ending the program. 90 days, it's done. It's done. The only thing left on the books will be the ordinance for bags that we don't have. So guess what? You can't find people for something we don't have. You've got businesses complaining because it's costing them money to sell these bags. It's a no-win situation for everybody but the city.
Free cash.
That's right, and that's what's going to happen because this $2.3 million is not included in the budget. It's not there. But the city council, by voting this down, has voted to increase the budget, which they cannot do. They cannot do it. This is not legal. It's not right. I don't have a dog in this race. I have a private hauler, so I could care less, but you should care. And maybe what you should do is, you know, I've already heard from a bunch of people, oh, let's recall them, let's recall all 6 of them, let's recall them. You know what? I don't think the city's ready for another recall. But even at the city council meeting last night, people were saying, recall them, get rid of them. But
well,
what I do think...
But, you know, CJ, I got to interject because, you know, that was one of the whole things. It was one of the biggest problems, and I don't have to tell you this. I'm preaching to the choir. But that was one of the problems when we initiated the recall. It was successful that we had. Because everybody said one of the problems with recalls is that every time a politician does something you disagree with, you're gonna recall them. And, you know, and one of our position on it at that time was very simple. This was not one thing. It was not just the purple bags. Flanagan had been in, so he started his third term.
5 years, yeah.
And at the beginning of his first term, he had said the stormwater fee was illegal. We had a book this thick put together by one of the people called Flanagan's Shenanigans, and we had all the things. We had the $8 million shortfall in the budget because he didn't prepare for the landfill closures and many other things that he should have prepared for. He had a litany of things that showed poor management, and he deserved to be recalled, and obviously the people believed it because he went from being elected 70-30 to being pushed out of office 70-30. But a recall isn't something that somebody like the mayor's favorite guy who calls the talk show telling the mayor all the time. Now anybody that disagrees with any position the mayor takes, you want to threaten a recall. Look, I've never seen a politician yet that took 100% of the votes that I wanted. They were on my side 100% of the time. It's just not realistic. And these people that yell recall now, they got to understand it's apples and oranges. The recall of Will Flanagan was a completely different thing. Will Flanagan had five years of mismanagement and issues that we defined. Not one vote. You're still making the recall about the purple bags. It wasn't about the purple bags. The purple bags was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the end. That was the tipping point. But there were a whole bunch of other issues. It's not even logical. It's ridiculous. Every time a councilor takes a vote you don't like, you're going to threaten to recall him. Well, how about the 27 votes he took that you agreed with?
But that's what we always come down to. Is
Josh Silver going to get on the radio now and want to recall Steve Long, who's been such a rubber stamp for the mayor that he even admitted publicly in a meeting?
Yeah.
I always get along with the mayor, but in this one I disagree. Oh, recall him!
Well, you know, here's the thing. I don't believe that this is a recallable incident, okay?
No, it's not.
But I do believe that the citizens can initiate a petition to repeal the pay-as-you-throw program, whether the city council likes it or not. Once you get so many signatures, it's gone. So go out and create some petitions and get rid of it.
And there's another way, too, CJ. You said he didn't put it in a budget.
That's right.
It's an ordinance. So why doesn't the council say, you're right, they can't raise the budget, but they can vote it down, vote down a budget and say, we want you to comply with the ordinance and provide the purple bags, and we're not going to vote for a budget that doesn't have it in it.
That's what they'll have to do.
That's another option.
Right.
And it's a legal option. But right now, as you said, it's not in the budget. So therefore, it's a de facto repeal, but it's done the wrong way. If the mayor doesn't put something in the budget, it's like not funding the fire department. If he decides not to fund the fire department or the police department, is the city council going to approve the budget? We're going to go to an all-volunteer police department and an all-volunteer fire department?
Why not?
Why not? So if he does that, you think the city council will approve? Well, if you really want the purple bags, those councilors should say, well, we're going to vote against the budget until you put the money back in, until it's reflected in the budget, and you're abiding by the city ordinance. So, as you said, everything, but look, this is the Riv. We never do anything by the rules. We never comply with the laws. What the hell is an ordinance? Our own financial team said, the hell with the ordinances. We just use stipends to circumvent them. So, hey, remember, look out now. If the shots ring out, they might have better aim. They found a van with multiple bullet holes on Pine Street. Looks like the criminals were having target practice.
It's always good that way. Hey, everybody, stay angry, and we'll see you on Friday.